Judge laughs at black woman in court, then freezes when she reveals federal authority. You underestimated me, Judge Patterson, but federal law always prevails. What could make a small-town courtroom fall silent in shock? A judge dismisses a black woman's words, thinking she's just another witness. Who is she? And why does her quiet revelation leave the courtroom stunned? This is the story of how arrogance met accountability and how one woman's quiet dignity shattered a broken system. Let's dive in. The afternoon sun cut through the tall windows of Riverside County Courthouse, streaking across time-worn floors. The air was heavy with the scent of old leather and power. Among the observers sat Dr. Sarah Coleman, her posture straight, her hands folded. Her dark skin glowed beneath the fluorescent lights. Her hair, streaked with silver, was tied back in a tight bun. A simple navy blazer. Quiet, professional, deliberate. To the casual observer, she looked like any concerned family member. But her sharp eyes catalogued every movement, every face. There was something in her calm that didn't belong in this small-town courtroom. At the defense table sat her brother, Marcus. His shoulders were tight with worry. The charge, assaulting a police officer. But Sarah had seen the body cam footage. She'd read every report, and the truth wasn't what the state claimed. Then, with a heavy creak, the oak doors opened. Judge Robert Patterson entered like royalty. At 62, with silver hair and black robes, he had ruled this courtroom for 2 decades. He took his high-backed chair like a king claiming his throne. He'd seen cases like this 100 times before. What he didn't know was this one would undo everything. Court is now in session, the bailiff announced. The Honorable Judge Robert Patterson presiding. Case 2024 CR 1156, State of California versus Marcus Coleman. District Attorney James Morrison rose. His voice was smooth, confident. He painted Marcus as a threat, a violent man who lashed out at police. But Sarah's face never changed. She listened, still and unreadable. Your Honor, Morrison concluded, the evidence is clear. The defendant became aggressive during a routine traffic stop. Judge Patterson gave a slight nod. Another easy case, another conviction. But as his eyes locked with Sarah's, something flickered. Officer Bradley took the stand, medals gleaming. His words were confident, rehearsed. The defendant refused my lawful orders, he said. He became physically aggressive. I feared for my safety. Sarah's hands stayed folded, but her knuckles whitened. She had seen this performance before. It was a pattern. Escalate, claim fear, walk away clean. Judge Patterson leaned in. Officer Bradley, in your opinion, was the use of force justified? It wasn't a question. It was a prompt, a cue. Lisa Chen, a young public defender, stood to cross-examine. Nervous, outmatched. Officer Bradley, you stated Mr. Coleman was aggressive, but isn't it true he was simply asking why he was pulled over? Objection, Morrison snapped. Asked and answered. Sustained, Judge Patterson said quickly. When Marcus took the stand, his voice was steady. I was coming home from work. I wasn't speeding. I asked why I was stopped. That's when he grabbed me. The judge didn't hide his skepticism, his courtroom, his rules, or so he thought. Mr. Coleman, the judge said, are you accusing a decorated officer of lying under oath? Marcus stayed calm. I'm telling the truth, Your Honor. I never threatened anyone. He attacked me. Morrison stood for cross. You have a prior arrest record, don't you? It was irrelevant, but the jury heard it. Sarah's eyes narrowed. She had seen enough. The defense calls Dr. Sarah Coleman to the stand, said Chen. The courtroom paused. Sarah rose. Graceful, composed. The room shifted. Please state your name and occupation for the record. Dr. Sarah Coleman. I'm a federal judge, Southern District of California. Silence. The courtroom froze. The prosecutor's pen stopped. The bailiff looked up. Judge Patterson blinked. His smirk vanished. The room buzzed. A federal judge? Here? Dr. Coleman, Chen said, more respectfully now. In your professional opinion, has this case been conducted fairly? Sarah turned toward the bench. In my 25 years on the federal bench, I've overseen thousands of cases. What I've seen today is a failure of due process. Morrison stood. Objection. She can't critique this court. But his voice cracked. He knew what she represented. A chill ran through the courtroom. Federal oversight, civil rights, investigations. The judge gripped his gavel, hands trembling. Perhaps we should speak in chambers, he said. Justice doesn't happen in private, Your Honor. She held up her federal ID. I'll be filing formal complaints with the Judicial Council of California and the DOJ Civil Rights Division. Morrison looked sick. Officer Bradley avoided eye contact. I'll also recommend a review of similar cases tried in this court, Sarah added. Judge Patterson's voice was barely audible. Dr. Coleman, surely we can reach an accommodation, maybe reduce charges. Justice isn't negotiable, Your Honor. My brother deserves a fair trial. The weight of federal law filled the room. Judge Patterson scanned his courtroom. The peeling paint, the tired furniture, the air of unchecked power. It looked different now. In light of new evidence, he announced, I am dismissing all charges against Marcus Coleman. The defendant is free to go. Sarah smiled for the first time. Justice delayed is justice denied, she whispered, but justice served belongs to everyone. Reporters swarmed. Judge Coleman, what next? She walked on, arm in arm with Marcus. Whispers followed her. Federal judge, civil rights violations, change is coming. 3 months later, reforms began. New training for judges, federal oversight, system-wide reviews. Judge Patterson retired quietly. Officer Bradley faced charges. Morrison's win record was now evidence. But real change? That came in the courtroom's atmosphere, in how justice was delivered. Sarah returned to her federal bench. But she carried the knowledge that the system, when watched, works. And small-town judges remembered, federal authority has no borders. This story reminds us, the law isn't justice until someone has the courage to demand it. Because when truth stands tall, the system has no choice but to listen. Subscribe for more stories of courage, truth, and the fight to reclaim justice.